All right, guys. I gotta be honest. I didn't want to make a video about this. I was really hoping that I wouldn't need to, and I guess I still don't, technically speaking. But I kind of feel an obligation to at this point because it's not going away. I was hoping that it was going to go away, but Jamal Adams has made sure that it won't. So let's do this. I like to try to keep it to actual football related things here. I don't like to get into the drama like this, but sometimes you just gotta. So let's talk this through. And I understand that if you're watching this video, you probably know the backstory, but for the handful of people out there who maybe don't, to cover it real quick, Jamal Adams got beat in coverage a few times against the Cowboys, really for the first time this year he was an issue in coverage. And among the plays that he gave up was the game winning touchdown. Well, not game winning, but very, very significant touchdown pass to Jake Ferguson. So Jamal Adams gives that up. And that's obviously not what you want to happen in the game. But again, I want to stress this Jamal Adams has actually not been a liability in coverage this year. So that's not really what this is about. What this is about is a Jets beat reporter. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but a Jets beat reporter that has had issues with Jamal Adams from his time in New York and post trade to Seattle decided to retweet a video of Adams giving up the touchdown with the caption, "Yikes." And I mean, they don't like each other. So it's very obviously him going at Adams because he sees an opportunity to do so because he made a bad play. So after the game, Jamal Adams gets on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it, sees this tweet from this beat reporter, and he decides he's not going to just take it lying down. He's not taking the high road. He is very much taking the low road. So he retweets the tweet and then posts a picture of the beat reporter's wife and says, "Yikes." So basically, he's taking a situation where, yeah, the reporter was definitely trying to needle him, but he takes a situation where he's criticizing, I mean, not criticizing, but poking at him over a football play, and then he makes it very personal, bringing his wife into the matter, and that obviously kicked up a little bit of a firestorm. And if it had ended there, I probably wouldn't have said anything about this issue, but it didn't end there. Now, Adams did delete the post, and Adams did have a discussion with it about Pete Carroll. But when Jamal Adams had the opportunity to discuss this incident with the Seattle media and had the opportunity to really step back, he stepped forward. And what I mean by that is he decided to just say, "Look, I don't like that guy. I've had a problem with him for years. I want him to leave me alone." So I decided to go after his wife because I think that's something that will get him to leave me alone. So I'm not sorry about it. I stand by what I did. His exact quote was, "He went low, I went lower," which is a very weird thing to say. I mean, I guess it's true, right? He did go lower, right? He made it personal, and I guess he's proud of it. I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to say. It's kind of acknowledging that you did something that you shouldn't have done, and at the same time trying to act like you should have done it. So, despite having several days to come up with some way to put some oil on these waters, he decided, no, I'm not putting any oil on these waters. I don't like this guy so much that I'll stand by what I did a week, almost a week later. Like he had a whole week to chill out, cool down, and realize that he shouldn't have done that. And on some level, he did acknowledge that he shouldn't have done it, but he also didn't say he regretted doing it. In fact, he said he basically implied that he felt justified in what he did. So that's the rundown, and now we're here. It's Thursday, and the only thing we really have from the the organization is that Pete had a discussion with Jamal about it and Pete didn't like it. But that's it. So, a couple different angles here. First, being just on the Jamal Adams front, if he had walked things back appropriately yesterday or any time in the last couple of days, I wouldn't have said anything about this because I don't feel the need to get on my high horse about a player doing something out of anger and frustration and then realizing a little later, oh wow, I really shouldn't have done that. And then he works to like make it clear that that's not him. Like that happens. I'm not, I don't believe that I'm so much better than everybody else that I can criticize everybody who makes a mistake. And had that happened, I would have just been like, okay, that's a nothing burger. I don't care about that. But for him to come out this long after the fact and say these things is tough. Like it's tough to really defend. It's tough to stand by. It's a very interesting way to respond to it. And he did kind of take it to the point where I feel the need to make this video. And I feel the need to wonder, like, what's this guy's problem? Um, if it had just been the initial thing where he sent out the tweet or Z and then deleted it a little bit later, then again, I would have just blown it off because players, all people do stupid stuff when they're angry and frustrated. And I'm sure that Jamal Adams, look, he's not been great this year, but like I try to point out every week, he has not been giving up very much in coverage. His coverage has actually been the furthest thing from a problem this year. Now, other things with him have been a problem, but he's given up very little in coverage. That was the first game this year where Adams gave up significant plays in coverage, where he actually gave up a touchdown. It's the first touchdown he's given up in coverage this season. It's the first game this year he's given up more than I think it was 20 yards. So when that happened, all the memes came out. All the memes that have been on ice for a while now, like, oh, Jamal Adams can't cover. Jamal Adams sucks at coverage. Blitz boy. And I could see Adams seeing that and getting really, really mad. Like, really? I have one bad game in coverage. It wasn't even that bad. I gave up about 50 yards in coverage, and you guys are going to come out and act like I suck in coverage with what I've been doing this year. And then he just sees red, and then he sees this guy he doesn't like going at him, needling him, and he's like, okay, you know what? I'm swinging the hammer here. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, well, that was stupid. But that's not what happened. He woke up the next day and was like, yeah, I showed that guy. So that's a very different thing, I think. That's something that I kind of feel like I could judge you a little bit on because, even if you're not sorry, you can say you're sorry and look it. You can at least go through the motions. But he wasn't even able to do that. So that's something that's a little harder for me to get behind. And also, the other angle here is I'm trying to figure out what the message is concerning this organization right now. Like, what do we say about the messaging from this organization that the only thing that's going to happen apparently is that Adams is going to have a discussion with Pete that doesn't even really seem to do anything, and that's it. Like, this isn't DK Metcalf picking up a couple of chippy flags. This is something well beyond that. And this is also something that he's very publicly saying, like, look, I did what I felt like I needed to do to get him to go away, and I am happy that I was able to get him to go away. But from the team, what about this? Think about this. This team passed up on Jalen Carter in the draft. And I had no problem with them passing up on Jalen Carter in the draft because I knew there were character concerns, and I understood that, look, this team is trying to dig themselves out of a era that resulted in very little success. That 2018 to 2021 era that resulted in no deep playoff runs and a blow up. And part of that has been they've gotten a lot of young players. Part of that has gotten they've gotten a lot of impressionable young players. So you don't want to bring in a Jalen Carter because you think he's going to be a character problem. You're concerned about him maybe being a bad influence on other players. You're concerned about him maybe not being able to play because of character issues down the line. And you're like, look, generational talent. He was the one generational talent in this draft. And I'm not saying anything about Witherspoon because Witherspoon has been fantastic so far. And honestly, I'm perfectly happy with the way things went, even without the character issues. But you passed up on Jalen Carter. And I have to believe it's because of character issues, because I think that even the Seahawks would acknowledge his immense talent and immense ability. And now Adams does this, and you're allowing it. This is clearly a question of character. This is clearly this calls his character into question, right? Like, I don't know if it makes him a bad person, but it makes this tree of decisions that Jamal Adams has made over the last week is very definitely calls a lot of things into question about him. So to me, the messaging is very mixed here. Like, we won't draft this generational talent because we're concerned about his character issues, but our safety shows character issues that are in a different way, probably worse. And he's not even playing that well. He's like a okay safety, and we're just gonna give him a talking to that apparently doesn't do anything, and we're just gonna roll forward. Like, that doesn't really make any sense. So what is this organization? Are we valuing high character guys, or are we randomly going to ignore character in some instances and care about it in others? So I I'm wondering where this goes. It doesn't seem like anything is going to come of it. Maybe it ends up being a straw that breaks the camel's back this offseason and we move off of him and just eat the money. It's a lot of money to eat, but maybe we just decide, look, he's not playing that well, and we can't be putting up with things like this for a guy who isn't even playing that well. So it's a weird situation. If he was playing really great, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But when you're just kind of okay, like again, Adams has been not any kind of an issue in coverage this year until the Cowboys game. Before that game, he had given up like 75 yards in coverage all season, and the tackling has been really bad, and the blitzing has been basically non-existent. So he was okay. And now you have stuff like this, and you're like, are we really going to put up with this with an okay player who is getting paid all this money? Like, I understand he gets paid most of the money even if we let him go, but at a certain point, maybe you just have to go, look, we got to try to do something else here. He's not going to get any better. He's had too many injuries. There's too much baggage here. Maybe that's part of the reason why he's so upset, right? Maybe he's upset because he's like, I used to be able to do these things. Now I can't because of all the injuries. And he's taking it out on these people around him. Maybe that's part of the issue, but that's probably never going to change. Like, this is some real stuff he went through. And of course, I empathize with that. But I don't know. These actions that he's taken over the last week or so, I again, I wasn't somebody who immediately jumped up on the soapbox and started preaching about this stuff the moment it came down. I wasn't somebody who made a bunch of videos about it as soon as it came down because I wanted to see what he was going to do next. But now that I have, I'm like, how how can we stand by this if we're going to pretend like we value character issues? Maybe we only value character issues when we feel like it's going to affect his ability to play football, right? Because Jalen Carter's character issues could get him suspended or kicked out the league or whatever. But I guess Jamal Adams's character issues are just he'll go at another reporter's wife or something, and that's not going to actually take him out of games or not let him play. Maybe it's just a practical thing, which, I mean, that's not really a great thing either. But yeah, maybe this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. For me personally, I'm pretty over it. And if we decide to let him go this offseason, I mean, I made a video before the season started that we had committed ourselves to Adams for at least another 2 years. But his play has been so middle of the road and his behavior has been so this that I don't think that's the case anymore. And I can't believe I'm there. But yeah, very, very bad week for Jamal Adams. And it doesn't, I can't say it reflects well on this team right now because of all the stuff I just said. Like, you care about character, then why don't you care about this? Is it just a practicality thing? If so, that doesn't say anything that good about you. All right. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. I know this is polarizing, but I want to hear it.